the inner label on all three is just this picture. Hey, it's Russ from the Infectious Groove podcast. As I always say in these videos, if you're not listening to the podcast, make sure you correct that mistake. Go to your favorite podcast platform, look for Infectious Groove podcast, make sure to hit the subscribe button, catch up on everything we had from season 1. We're nearing the end of season 2 now, got a lot more planned for season 3. But the YouTube channel is supposed to be a companion to that, and that's what we're doing. I'm doing a little bit of what I promised in the original video, which is talking about some of the rare pressings that I have. If you're a Michael Jackson fan, you are probably seeing right now one of the most rare pressings that you can get as a Michael Jackson collector. There's a lot of rare Michael stuff out there, but I would say that this is probably the most popular record, the one that people want the most, I would imagine. This is, of course, Michael Jackson History, and Past, Present, and Future Book 1. Now, I want to just say that there's something a little confusing about this record that I don't think enough people know, and that is that, yes, this is a greatest hits record, but that's only the first half of it. The second half of the record is called History Continues. It's all brand new music, and me personally, I've said this on the show several times, I personally find History Continues to be Michael Jackson's best album because of a lot of reasons. One, the songs themselves are killer. They're very personal. It really feeds into, if you look at the way that it's done, his story, which I love as the name of the record, because everybody else in the world seems to want to tell some version of Michael Jackson's story, and he really puts it all out there on the second half of the record. So if you get the first half of this, you get everything that you know from when you were a kid. Billie Jean, Want to Be Starting Something, Bad, all those songs are there. But for me, the meat of it starts when you get to Scream on through Smile, because it's probably one of the most personal records I've ever heard an artist make. And it's a bold move for someone who was going through what Michael Jackson was going through at that time and would continue to go on, unfortunately, until he passed in 2009. And these songs not only spoke then about what was going on, they continued to speak for him all the way until he passed. They've spoken for him again since, and even some of the more big social issues that have come up. The second song on this record, They Don't Care About Us, has totally reinvented itself in the past year just for a lot of the social issues that have been going on. So I think it's a masterwork, and I think that's why it's so hard to find. My story about owning this particular record is not very fantastic, but it was fantastic for me. I went to a local store with a friend one day probably about 10 years ago, and a local record store called Street Corner Music here in the Detroit area. And he was there shopping for records. I was just with him. I really wasn't looking around it much. And right before we walked out the door, I glanced up and saw a sealed copy of History sitting up in their top where they keep their rare records. And it was marked for $125, which, if you know anything about what History goes for, you probably just spit out your coffee, because that is a ridiculous deal on this record in the first place, let alone sealed. So it did have the hype sticker on it when I got it. I very firmly believe in sleeving up all of my records inside and out, so I just got at least the closest thing to a polyline bag. If you collect vinyl, you know about polyline bags that would fit an LP that's this wide instead of like a single or a gatefold. And I saved the hype sticker and put that on there. Now, getting into the actual record, there's a couple of things in here that I like and a couple of things that I don't like. First things first, all three LPs are the same, so I'm only going to show you one. But one thing that I do not like about the LPs themselves is the inner label on all three is just this picture. And now, I don't want to give everybody a heart attack. I don't ever plan to sell my records. These are not something that I'm trying to get money out of. This is something I keep to enjoy. I had to write the sides on these, because the writing is so light on these that I can never tell which side that I'm going to listen to. So I just wrote that in on each side. So I'm not a huge fan of that because, like I say, I like the hits, but I prefer to listen to the second half of the record in the order that they are. So I wrote that on there. So I did that with the actual LPs themselves, and all three look like this. This is before the big 180 gram phase, because this was only pressed once in 1995. So these are just 120 gram records. They sound wonderful. But the thing about getting this record on vinyl is it's one of the only ways that you can get the first song on the record completely uncensored, and the second song on the record uncensored as well. If you're watching this video, you're probably a big enough Michael Jackson fan to know what he says in those songs that is controversial. I don't want to touch on all of that, but I will say in Scream, I know for me, it was very surprising the first time I ever heard Michael Jackson use the F word. So that's one of the only ways to get that song uncensored is on this vinyl version. There's a lot more controversy to do with They Don't Care About Us. But again, you can get that uncensored version of the song here on this record. The other thing that's great in here is this book, but I'm going to get to that in a second. Like I say, I'm a big believer in making sure to sleeve up all of your records with polyline sleeves. This is very typical record label. The inners that come in this are just paper, pretty much a magnet for everything to do with static and dust and things you don't want on your record. So I immediately took it out of there and put it in polyline sleeves. But this here is a great companion piece to the album. Fantastic booklet that I don't need to go through this piece by piece, but it literally is the history of Michael Jackson, everything you know about him from a child all the way up until he became the world famous superstar that he was. But again, for me, I focus on the later era of this, and the one thing that I want to show you is that a lot of the art in here is really a companion piece to the amazing songs that Michael put on these records. And the one thing that I want to show you here is this picture here with some of the lyrics of Childhood. And if you're watching this video and you've never heard the song Childhood by Michael Jackson, you're really missing out on a couple of levels. Even if you're a Michael Jackson skeptic, I really think you should listen to this song. And this piece really goes with the song as to show you really what he was thinking and how he really had a different life than the rest of us did. But this is a really, really fantastic companion piece to the music. I like when record labels actually include things like that, especially in the mid-90s where vinyl really was out of favor. I like that Sony at least put a good amount of effort into producing a solid set for this, and it's only been pressed the once. I really don't think I'll ever do another proper box set like this ever again. We'll see. But if they don't, I've got it here, Michael Jackson History.